We're going to take a quick look at Color Efex Pro 4, one of the programs that is within the Nik collection. This is a great plugin that works within Photoshop, Lightroom, and Aperture. And the reason why I enjoy Color Efex Pro 4 for nature is that I've got the ability to add or remove selectively certain areas of my image to enhance it. So for instance, if I have a dark image, I can lighten it, I can bring out the details, I can add even things like graduated neutral density or polarizers. So it gives me a lot of flexibility, all in the digital darkroom. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at 3 different filters within Color Efex Pro 4. Now I'm using Photoshop, and I'll use the selective tool here in Photoshop to bring up Color Efex Pro 4. And you'll see that this is a plugin, again, that works within Photoshop. As I move this down, you'll see Photoshop is right below it. There's 55 filters on the left-hand side of your screen. Each of these actually has different global adjustments on the right-hand side. So as I click through them, there's going to be different drop-down menus, different selections that you can choose from. And what I'm going to focus on today is Tonal Contrast for the first one. So we'll go ahead and click on that. These are all alphabetical. What I love about this particular filter is that it really brings out some of the detail and start separating my subject from the background. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a split preview that's up here on the left hand side of the screen, and I'll show you even the defaults before and after starting to look really nice. So what I'll do here is just make a few adjustments on the right hand side. You can see we've got control over the highlights, midtones, shadows, saturation, and by clicking on the contrast type I can choose some different variations. So I'm going to choose the balanced selection here, and underneath the control point section I can change the opacity. So if it's a little bit too much, I can always bring it all the way down to 0% and then bump it up just enough to how I want it to be. So that again is underneath the control points. It almost acts as a layer with the opacity setting, so you don't have to go back into Photoshop. So each of these filters has that available to you. So we're going to go ahead and leave the tonal contrast as is, and we're going to add another filter. This time we're going to go over to the left-hand side and we're going to take a look at the Pro Contrast filter. This is another filter that has contrast built into it. It has 3 different options that you can select from: correct color cast, correct contrast, and dynamic contrast. The correct contrast will correct contrast throughout your entire image, and it's pretty dramatic. You can see here I really like how this particular filter is affecting my image. I'm going to bring that down to 0% again. Now take a look at the dynamic contrast. It's a little bit softer, and it's more of a selective type contrast filter. So it usually works really well for most of my images, but in this case, because this is such a flat image, I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit more dramatic by pulling that all the way up to 34%. We're going to go ahead and add another filter. This time we're going to take a look at Darken, Lighten, Center. This particular filter lets you really draw the viewer's eye into your image, into your subject. Now I tend to like to be a subject shooter, so I really focus in on a singular image, or a subject in this case, and I can take down the border luminosity. Do you see how the edges are really dark? Or I can bring it up just a bit, and I can also change the center luminosity. So there's different methods and several different vignettes that you can use within Color Efex, but I find that this one is a little bit more subtle, and I can also change the shape as well. So we're going to go ahead and move the center point more on the lion himself, and by choosing this little checkbox on and off, this is off and that's on, you can see now I've got this really natural vignette. This lion is coming straight at us, and I think I've got the effect that I'm looking for. So let's go ahead and compare before and after by clicking on the compare button. So this is before. Remember, it's kind of flat, not a lot of contrast, and now just by adding a few filters, the Tonal Contrast, Pro Contrast, and Darken, Lighten, Center, we're able to really bring forward this beautiful lion.